Hello. So today we're talking about accessibility and inclusivity in open source code. I'm Gina Holden. So what do we mean about accessibility? What is inclusivity? How does it apply to software? I'm not going to give you a definition. Instead, let's start with a quick design prompt. Imagine you're asked to design a wheelchair ramp for a building entrance. Take a second. What might you be thinking of? What if we change the prompt? Design a better way for both wheeled and walking people to enter a building. Does your design change at all? Possibly, you were thinking about something resembling the photo on the left. This is technically a ramp that meets the requirements of the prompt. A wheelchair can probably go up this ramp. But it's a little dodgy, right? Like it's kind of hidden in the back of a building. It doesn't look quite safe. We can do better, right? What about this design on the right? This is something that was designed with inclusivity first. We want a better way for everyone to walk up a set of stairs. Now, even as an able-bodied human, I like easy risers. They're easier to walk up. I'm not losing my breath while I'm walking and probably on a phone call. It's also nice for if you have a stroller, and it's prettier to look at, yeah? More stable. It looks like it was designed to be that way. This is the difference between accessibility and inclusivity. We're not just meeting the minimum requirements, we're designing with the whole community first, from the start. So the mindset shifts a little bit when we think about inclusivity first, and as a result, we get a better product. Now, great. We are all sold on inclusive design. We're going to take this concept with us into our daily interactions, but what about our 9-to-5 life? How do we apply this to software every day? Normally, when we hear accessibility in software, we're thinking of things like this. Color contrast, font size. This stuff is great. It does improve your front-end design. It makes it more accessible to an end user. Now, most of us are not doing front-end design every day. How do we bring these concepts to inclusive products for everything that we're doing? Back-end code, servers. I think we should be focusing on inclusivity to our developers. Think of your developers who are going to be contributing to your open source libraries as your users, right? How do we design a world where they can easily contribute, they can easily get in a code base, understand how it works, and quickly make a bug fix or submit a PR in a world that they didn't have to spend years understanding how it works? What can we do? One thing, improve your test coverage. As soon as you write a doc, right, it's out of date. So test as living documentation to how your code works. As a developer, I often go into code bases and look at their tests to understand how those developers actually wanted this product to work, especially when I'm looking for something a little more low level than what the docs are describing. Test coverage is a great way to show how you wanted your code to work. Code linters. When we're using really popular languages, C++, Java, Go, there's certain standards that the community agrees upon. Use those standards. It makes your developers feel more comfortable getting in a code base, so even if it's the same language, so that it doesn't look like a foreign world. Additionally, clean code. These things this is the craft of software, right? Writing code that works and accomplishes your goal, that's the easy part, right? We did that in college. Submit something that works, throw it over the fence. Writing clean code is your craft. Make functions that do one thing, have one purpose, single responsibility principle, use variable names that have meaning. Don't use comments as handicaps. Rewrite your code. All of this stuff applies for inclusivity in your open source product. Now, this is an example that you'll see in the deck. I'll come back to it if we have time. Now, some of you are thinking, why do I care? Why should I write inclusive code? More inclusive code improves your product. I'll show you how. Quantitatively, what I mean is you're going to have better support for your library. You'll be able to close issues quicker. You'll have more contributors and more stars contributing, rolling up to better quality of your product overall. In case you don't believe me, I did a quick analysis of some popular JavaScript libraries out there on the internet. So the first thing that I analyze is that there is a positive or a negative correlation between the number of linter errors that you have versus the number of stars. Cleaner code makes your repository more popular. Additionally, you'll have more contributors. You also have a positive correlation between test coverage and number of stars. This is a harder one for me to analyze because of the difference in number of test runners and tools, but with a relatively small data set, there's a strong correlation here. Now, here's some resources that you can see about A, how I did my code analysis, and B, a resource on the traditional front-end accessibility resources as far as how to make accessible web markup. Quick example, since we have time. If you are a developer and you want to work in a code base and submit your first, maybe it's your first open source PR, what is a code base that you would rather work in? I know you won't be able to read this exactly, but it's not super important. Just look at the overall structure here. The class that you have, this is a Java class that I wrote to implement bowling. You have some methods that are named in English. It has meaning outside of a technical application. You have functions like, should I stop scoring now? Or what is a frame score? You have variables like spares, strikes, ball, roll. This has meaning to a developer that just pops into a code base. Additionally, you have some nice unit tests. This tells you in English the logic that you expect your code to implement. So all gutter balls, then the score is 0, right? I can look at that as a new developer and just understand what you meant your code to do. Alternatively, imagine that you're trying to submit a PR to a code base like this. How do you understand what this code is supposed to do? How do you know where you're going to make a change? You're going to write down the variables, walk through it with an example, spend 30 minutes trying to figure out how this code base works. Let's aim for this in the future. Clean code, these are things that you can do quickly and right away that will improve the quality of your product. That's the end of the presentation.